To attach the front section of the fuselage, this is the nose section here, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2 of these that mirror on this other side, as well as 3 more on the bottom. So there's a total of about 7 screws that sort of need to go into securing the nose section into the rest of the fuselage. The screws that you use for those 7 holes are in your kit, and they are the 12mm long screws, as you can see there. And so we're going to need 7 of those to attach the nose section to the rest of the fuselage. So I'm going to do that and come back. And obviously what happens here is you need to use Loctite because as you can see on the back side of this, let's see, you literally have a lock nut right there. So I temporarily have this long screw which is not supposed to be here, but I'm going to change that with the 4x12mm. I'm going to put some blue Loctite and we're going to install it in there. There we have it. So we have about 6 more to install. So all the 7 screws have been screwed in place with Loctite. So 1, 2, there's 3 in there, there's 1 more at the corner there, and same on the opposing side. Okay, so the cockpit in this jet is one of the best that I've ever seen, and I'll explain why in a second. So it mounts using a whole host of magnets. So you can see magnets there, magnets here, and then on the actual tray itself, magnets. And what this does is it just snaps into place. And so this is the bottom piece. And the reason I want to focus on this is because when I received mine, it felt, well, a little flimsy. So what I had to do is just, glue this carbon fiber strip on the bottom. And I also added this triangular piece in here that wasn't there and put a couple of magnets in there. And I'm going to show you why that's important. Okay, so here are the parts of the Eurofighter cockpit. So you can see one of the side panels here, the other side panel here, and then the center console sort of with all the gadgets there, and then you have the dash. And the beauty of this is, for example, on the dash, you have a magnet here, magnet in the center, and a magnet on the other end. And what happens is there's also corresponding magnets in there, and it just snaps into place. It's a pretty amazing design. Like, you can't get that wrong. So now that dash is attached. Now, the reason why I put magnets on the bottom piece here is because this was actually glued with CA to that bottom plate, and you can see that when I got it, it had broken off a little bit. So I decided to add 2 magnets in here and that piece of wood. That's why that's unpainted. And so that mates with the bottom here, and you can see it just kind of snaps in place like that. So I added a piece of wood here. Let's zoom in closer, and these 2 rails, and those 2 rails secure this center piece in place, and those in conjunction with the magnets keep it secured perfectly. And then you obviously have your side rails, which again, magnets on the bottom, and they just snap into place, and same on the other side, snap into place. And you can see the cockpit is starting to look pretty good. So here's the final piece of the cockpit, and look at that, magnets. And then that just kind of gets in there and snaps into place as well. So let's take this off first. Notice when I went to fit the seat into the bottom, it didn't quite want to sit correctly. So what I figured out was that the magnetic plate that attaches the cockpit seat to this armature here was sitting kind of like that, but I think it was glued wrong, so it was a little bit low like that, and so these notches here didn't quite engage the base plate. So I took that off with an X-Acto knife, just cut through here and got this piece out, and what I'm gonna do is actually fit it correctly. So I'm gonna let the magnet sit in the frame, in the armature correctly, and then I'm gonna put the cockpit seat in there the way it's supposed to be. And now I like that fit. Now it feels really solid, and you can see in the bottom those notches have engaged. And then what I'm gonna do is drop a little bit of CA into the seat here. And by doing that, so if I drop some CA sort of in there and in there to kind of glue the magnetic piece of the seat, because I like that feels really solid. Then I'll epoxy that in place, and then cockpit should fit just perfectly fine now. So now you can see the correct height. So you can see that that had been glued just a little too low. Let's see if we can zoom in there. You can see the outline just a little too low. So now that we have the correct height with the CA, just gonna drop some epoxy in there. So here's our epoxy, and we're just gonna squirt a little bit into the spot right here, so that that holds that plate in place correctly. We can retry fitting everything. Center tray, armature first, side panel, second side panel, and let me say, these are really nice. They just snap into place. It's amazing. Center console, or whatever you want to call that, and that just sits in its place again. The fitting here is very tight, but hopefully we can just, yep, there it goes. Yep, there we go, and it's latched up in place. So, cockpit. It is a beautiful cockpit. I'm mostly just really impressed by how this thing all comes together. So, we're gonna let the epoxy dry. I'm gonna pull the cockpit out and probably start installing the canards next.